بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. Deepest condolences for the martyrdom of Sayyidah Fatema Zahra alayhi salam. Last night we talked about some of her names, titles, and technonyms. One of the titles that she has is Muhaddatha, meaning the one who is spoke to. This tradition is in Al-Kafi, and it mentions that during the 75 days which her house was attacked, according to some of the narrations, 75 days, that Jibreel would come and visit Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam. Now, sometimes when we look at these traditions, some people might be confused. You're saying that more verses of the Quran came? No. It actually, the tradition says why Jibreel would come. So Jibreel, the angel, would come during these 75 days, and the tradition has Inna Fatima alayhi salam. Here, وَكَانَ دَخَلَهَا حُزْنٌ شَدِيدٌ. She was very deeply upset from the loss of her father. وَكَانَ يَأْتِيهَا جِبْرَئِيل. For four different things Jibreel came. One is فَيُحْسِنُ عَزَاءَهَا عَلَى أَبِيهَا. One was to send condolences for the loss of her father. It is a big loss. فَقْدُ النَّبِي is a big loss. To lose the best of creation, and that best of creation to be your father. So Jibreel, from the mercy of Allah, would come to the soul of Sayyidah Fatima, come to her and say condolences. The second is وَيُطَيِّبْ نَفْسَهُ, and would soothe her soul, because everyone at that time needs their soul to be soothed. Then the third is وَيُخْبِرُهَا عَنْ أَبِيهَا وَمَكَانِهِ. And Jibreel would inform Sayyidah Fatima about the whereabouts, where Rasulullah is right now, for example, how he is doing. Jibreel would inform her of this. بِمَا يَكُونُ بَعْدَهَا فِي ذُرِّيَّتَهَا. And the fourth is that what would happen to her family members, her children afterwards. So we see that Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam had such a high position, and one of the titles that she has is Muhaddatha, meaning that Jibreel, she would speak to the angels. So therefore, we have very many verses of the Holy Quran talking about her holy status, many traditions that talk about the status of Sayyidah Fatima, but in reality, we can never know her true status. Just as her grave for us is unknown, her status in sha'an and maqam is not known to us. For this last few nights, I talked about how important it is, how one of her titles is Mubarakah, that she brings blessings for us. She is Kawthar, Khairu Kathir. She has abundant favor. Brothers and sisters, whenever you have need, whenever you want something from Allah, whenever you want to reach the highest of positions, remember this holy lady. Know that Rasulullah will be satisfied and happy with you when you remember her and cry for her. This is one of the things that we truly need to learn and present in Islam that is growing in the West, is love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam needs to be incorporated in all of our families and all of our children. Tonight I want to talk about Sayyidah Fatima's stance against oppression. That Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam, that when we talk about her worship, when we talk about how she behaved, one of the critical issues that a human being has is their relationship with their society. And one of the problems that we have is that we have majlis sometimes for Ahlul Bayt, but then when it comes to what Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam stood for, we don't act. We're afraid of acting. We see in front of us what's happening since October, genocide, what is happening right now, starvation, what is happening in Lebanon. And the world has turned their backs. And we ask ourselves, why aren't we, the world, Why isn't the world acting up? Why isn't the world rising to this, except for a few? We have to answer this and see from the life of Sayyidah Fatima how she stood up against oppression and how she is the mother of resistance. She is the mother of resilience. And we need to learn from her in order to be strong, in order to have hope. Sometimes when we understand that the opponents are strong, but we need to understand that Allah suffices us and that we are doing our own duties. We never want to make majalis for Ahlul Bayt alayhim wasallam just to remember them without learning from their message. Shaheed Sadr mentioned this, Shaheed Musa Sadr used to mention that some, and I apologize for saying this, but he gave this example, some cry for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but they behead Imam Hussein. He says, who is the one who cries for Imam Hussein, yet beheads Imam Hussein? He says, those who cry for Imam Hussein, but they trample upon the message of Imam Hussein. They don't spread the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. What did Imam Hussein rebel for? One of those examples is Islah in society, to change and rectify. One of them is to command the good, to forbid the evil. Is there more evil that we know than killing innocents, killing children, genocide, purpose starvation? So therefore, we cannot be of those who just remember Ahlul Bayt, with itself is very good, alayhimus salam, but we don't learn from the message. Ashura of Imam Hussein, Fatimiyya for us is a university, so that we can learn how to live our lives and what we should do during such times and tribulations. And believe me, those who are fighting against their oppressors, their true iman and courage and strength comes from Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam, because she has taught us these lessons. Please recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The ladies come to Sayyidah Fatima in one of the speeches that Al-Ihtijaj has mentioned. They come to her and ask her, how are you doing? And she mentions that I asbahtu wallah a'ifatan lidunyakun. I have woken up by Allah, I am awakened, or I have been changed, or my morning has become this way, that I have detested and I'm resenting your world. Qaliyatan lirijalikum. I am resenting your men. Two things. One, your world I am resenting. Two, I'm detesting your men. Why? What were the men doing in Medina? Because these were the wives, these were the women that came. And she is saying, I am resenting your men. Because Sayyidah Fatima came and she would go to take up people that would help Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. She gave a khutbah that after this beautiful khutbah, one of the best speeches that in Balaghatun Nisa, it's mentioned after these verses of Quran, after this great lecture and speech, we see nobody stood up. They didn't stand up to help her. Ayatollah Sa'd cries and says, another lady came and gave a speech. 30,000 were killed in the Battle of Jamal. But Sayyidah Fatima gave a speech in Fadak and wanted people. She is the only surviving offspring of Rasulullah, asking for help, pleading for help, telling about the oppression, telling about the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, and nobody wants to help. So she's detesting the men. One instance of this is that once she came to this companion known as Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Mu'adh was a famous companion. She comes to his house even and asks, why don't you help Ali alayhi salam? Why don't you help Amir al-Mu'mineen? He says this, I cannot help you. I cannot help you in helping him. So she leaves and says to him, basically paraphrasing, that I never want to speak to you again. I never want to talk to you again. Why? Because you want help? Walayat. You want help? Amir al-Mu'mineen. His son comes home. Mu'adh's son comes home and says, Father, who was at our house? Fatima Zahra was at our house. bint Rasulullah. She was a great honor to have the daughter of Rasulullah and the status that she had to come to her house. What did she want? And he says, she came asking for help. Sayyidah Fatima would come to some people's homes asking them to do the truth, to act upon the truth, to do what is right. And he says, I told her I cannot help her here. And what did she say? She said that I do not want to speak to you ever again. Son had more ma'rif and understanding than father. Son says, Father, I do not want to speak to you ever again as well. So therefore we see that one instance of Sayyidah Fatima's life, which is this conversation with Mu'adh and her lectures and speech, she is resenting the men who are going against Ghadir. 100 days ago, Ghadir was very clear for 120,000 people. They are going against the instructions of Rasulullah because there's nothing more important in our deen than walayat. She continues to tell them and says, I have cast them away after testing them and hated them after examining them. Thus away with the men of playing after seriousness, striking the soft rocks, slackening the spears, the foolishness of judgments, and deviation of fancies. So we have Allah give a very important test after Rasulullah's passing away, and Sayyidah Fatima is teaching us that there are times where you cannot remain silent. There are times where you cannot just say, I'm going to have my own deen and religion, I'm just going to pray. That there are times where I have to speak the truth, where I have to do what is right. She continues to say, why did you leave Imam Ali alone? What did they deny from Abul Hasan? Why they leave him alone? وَمَا الَّذِي نَقِمُوا مِنْ أَبَا الْحَسَنِ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ. Yes, they denied the beating of his sword, his carelessness about his death, his deadly assault, and his anger. Then she mentions what Imam Ali alayhi salam would have done for them. That if I am telling you to rise up for Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, that Imam Ali would have brought for you a fresh flowing fount, and he would return them with satiety, while he himself will not profit of anything. He wouldn't benefit himself, he would quench their thirst. He would make for them dunya and akhirat would be available for them. Brothers and sisters, right now, and we have traditions, that every blood that is spilled is because of what happened to Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam today. Because they have derailed the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'minin. If he was our imam and we acted upon his imamat, the world would have been a perfect place. So what we are facing today in this terrible occultation and ghaibat of the imam, where dhulm comes after dhulm, some say that before one dhulm, one oppression, one test is done, another one rises. So much so that I mentioned in traditions to you that at the end of times, things will be so terrible that people will ask for death. They will say, Allah, I don't want to be in this world anymore because there's so much dhulm, so much oppression, what they see. All of this is because at that very fragile moment, very important moment, they decided to be quiet. They decided to not say anything when Imam Ali alayhi salam was being left alone. We see in other statements that she says, Ma'ashir al-Muslimin al-Musra ila qil al-Batil in khutbah Fadak. O people who rush towards uttering falsehoods, yet yes, there are people who they rush towards Batil. And we see today how clear it is that they make haqq into Batil and people are rushing towards it. Al-Mughdiya ala al-fi'l al-qabih al-khasir. And they are indifferent to disgraceful and losing actions. She talked about this, and today, as if you want to give one sentence, one line about the current situation, even though this is about Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, but in general, when you apply this to what is haram, what is dhulm, what is oppression, what is taking the rights of others, you see, al-Mughdiya, people are indifferent, they've closed their eyes. Ala al-fi'l al-qabih al-khasir, upon disgraceful and losing actions. This is the first televised and live, genocide that we are witnessing. Vietnam, there were photos of this, for example, some footage. But in this, it is different. We're being shown on our own devices at home, and people are turning away. So tonight, because we don't have too much time, we need to talk about this important topic. We know that Islam is social as it is personal and private. We know that you have to command the good, you have to enjoin the good, you have to forbid the evil. But the most important question is this: why is everyone so quiet around the world? Except for a few. We always have to make sure that those who are not quiet, we pay honor to them, we give them respect, obviously, for their sacrifices. But why in general we see this attitude of indifference when it comes to the worst actions, maybe some of the worst footage you've probably saw in your own lives. The footage that you've been seeing this last year is probably the worst you've ever seen in your life. Why are we indifferent about it? Here I'm going to talk about 4 reasons in tonight's discussion as to why people are indifferent to oppression, to what is wrong. One is fear of repercussion. People are afraid. And you see that sometimes the zalim, the oppressor, they use that against the people. They try to break the backs of the people. You know, in 2006, this doctrine called the Dahiya doctrine was inside the Zionist army to break the backs of people. And it worked. To some extent, they thought that it worked, so they incorporated this in other parts. And actually, those who've researched and said this genocide in Gaza is nothing but the Dahiya doctrine. What was that? This was a doctrine where they destroy the infrastructure, they destroy the livelihood of people that are not related to those who are fighting against them, the normal people. They break their backs, infrastructure, take away their lives, so they are afraid to say something. So they cause that fear. But actually, they understood that it worked opposite. Because when you break and you attack innocent people, those same children later on will grow up and will become combatants against you. So what can we do for this first thing? Fear of repercussion. Some are afraid of their job. Some are afraid of their livelihood. Some are afraid of what is going on in campus. What can we do as a society that, obviously, when I say to stand up against oppression, we have to do it in a wise manner. We have to be very tactful and wise at the same way. But when we want to learn from Sayyidah Fatema alayhi salam, who became Shahida, who gave her own life fighting for what was right, for walayat, we understand that we have to look and listen from this verse of Quran, Alaysa Allah bikafin abd. Isn't Allah sufficient to His slave Abda? Isn't Allah, do you need another God? Do you need a more powerful God? Doesn't He suffice you? If you are afraid, you understand that you are part of those who are not the awliya Allah, because the awliya of Allah, la khawfun alayhim, they do not have fear. One of the things we need to remove from our hearts is fear of others. Why are we afraid of the makhluk, the creation, but we're not afraid of the Creator? If it is our responsibility, then we have to do what is right. Again, I repeat, in a wise way. The second is social pressure and conformity. Some people, they do not do what is right. They do not speak against the truth. Because of social pressure and conformity, they want to fit in. They want to be like the others. They see everyone else, this is what's going on. They're killing innocents. Everyone else is living their lives normally as if nothing is happening. They want to fit in. If they say something, they're going to be sticking out. It's sometimes hard to go against the culture, for example, of people, because the media controls the culture. So therefore, when you are the one that is protesting, when you are the one boycotting, when you are the one saying what is right, then it becomes difficult. So therefore, for us to understand this, I want to go over a hadith from Imam Baqir alayhi salam that teaches the climax in the great station that a believer should have. What is the station? Imam Baqir alayhi salam tells Jabir al-Jufi that if you want to be a wali of us, if you want to be part of our true allies, our true friends, you have to have this quality. Listen to it and see if we have it. لو اجتمع عليك أهل مصرك وقالوا إنك رجل سوء لم يحزنك ذلك. If the entire city comes, if of Los Angeles area comes, everyone. How many people do we have in this metropolis area? Say 10, 15, 20 million, if all of them today came to you and said, you are a bad person, what you're doing is wrong. And it says, then this would not upset you at all. You would not become upset. لو قالوا إنك رجل صالح لم يسرك ذلك. And if 20 million people, your entire city, came to you and says, you are someone good, you would not become happy. So you have to learn to work for Allah, not for the people. Imagine having such iman, and we had ulama and scholars. The entire world was against them, but they believed in their mission. So therefore they did what is right. If you want to always conform to society, then you'll never have that iman, that taqwa. You'll never be able to do what is right. So the second is to not conform into social pressure. The third, lack of awareness and understanding. Sometimes we're not aware of what is going on because it's hard to get that message. Sometimes we are just used to turning on the TV or understanding things from the, legacy media. Here it needs studying, it needs work. You need to be able to see what is the truth. You need to be able to know the history, for example, of oppression. You need to be able to engage yourselves and understand what is going on in Palestine is nothing but a continuation of the suffering of everyone who has been colonized before. Inside Palestine is a compilation of all the dhulm and oppression of what all the natives have felt throughout the world, either them being in America or in Australia or in New Zealand or in South Africa, that inside Palestine, and that is why the oppressed relate to it so well, because they are studied, because they know. So Palestine is nothing but the history, and actually nothing but the future of what will happen to the colonists and what they will do. So therefore we need to make ourselves aware more of the suffering of history of what humans have done to one another. And to be aware, some of us unfortunately are very not educated with the history of where we live, what has happened, how many 100 millions or more of natives have been killed in North America, South America. When you don't understand that, when you don't understand slavery, for example, in this very country, it's hard for you to understand what the natives in Palestine are going through. The fourth thing, because mashallah, we had already 4 speakers, and if they continue to speak like this, I will be out of a job soon. So I'm going to make it short, inshallah. The fourth is apathy and indifference. I apologize. One thing I want to add about the third thing is to have awareness. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam has a tradition that if you have 6 types of knowledge, you will be saved. If you have 6 types of knowledge, you do not need anything else to enter heaven. One of those 6 things, 2 of them, is وَعَرَفَ الْحَقِّ فَاتَّبَعَهُ, to know haqq and follow it. وَعَرَفَ الْبَاطِلِ فَاتَّقَاهُ, know falsehood and refrain from it, guard yourself from it. You need to know what is haqq, what is right, and you need to know what is batil. You need to have basira, you need to have insight, you need to study, you need to learn history, for example. You need to learn aqaid, beliefs, to know what is right, what is wrong. This is 6 things that will cause a knowledge of a person to go into heaven. 2 of them is knowing right and wrong. The last thing, which I see this maybe of the major source of not acting up, is apathy and indifference. And we'll end with this. Brothers and sisters, we live in a society that people care about themselves. They don't really care about others. It's unfortunate. I was recently at a place, I saw an ambulance, and I was telling some of my students this. What happens when you see an ambulance usually? Someone that is Ahl Iman, someone that's Ahlul Tawheed or Allah, loves creation of God. They make dua all the time. They're saddened when you see something, even when something happens to a little animal, you're saddened. Now, let alone insan, humans. So what happens when an ambulance goes by? I was there and someone was looking, look at kids, look at the ambulance, look at the lights, look how nice it is. It's like a show for him. I was like, subhanAllah, I mean, there's somebody in there, he just had a heart attack. He might be having a heart attack, he's an emergency. Then another ambulance came, he said, look, another one for his kid. So that is one way that you look at problems that others face, and that is saying, that's your problem. And you've probably heard this expression. That's your problem. That's not my problem. That's your problem. But in Islam, we have that's our problem. That person that is going to the hospital in an ambulance, if you look in other nations and people, I've seen them, whenever an ambulance comes, they get worried. Who is that? Let's make dua for them. Let's pray for them. We don't know. Maybe it's somebody that is in that ambulance that I'm so indifferent to is my own family member. I don't know who's in that ambulance, right? It could be someone of my friends. And I'm just looking at the lights. So we need to learn how to care more about people. We need to learn that our own salvation relies on the actions of people. I'm going to end with the story from the people of Thamud. Prophet Saleh was sent to this group of people that they would build inside mountains and build a civilization. It was a great civilization. He told them that in Surah Al-Shams and other places too, in Surah Al-Shams, he told them that I am, you can read some parts of the story there. He told them that I am a prophet. And they denied. And he asked for them, what kind of, this is in the Quran, this is in the narrations or story. What kind of miracle do you want? How can I prove myself to you? They said, bring a camel from the mountains. And camels do not come from mountains. Camels come from, obviously their parents. So miraculously a camel came. A naqa came. A she-camel came. Exactly how they wanted. Wasn't that enough proof for this tribe, for this group of people to believe? Yes. Quran then mentioned, not only did they kadhabuhu, not only did they deny this she-camel, Quran says, فَأَقَرُوهَا, they slaughtered this camel. The interesting thing about this verse is that one person slaughtered the camel. When you take a camel, one person kills it. فَأَقَرُوهَا, but it's in plural form. This waw is for plurality. They slaughtered it. One person did, but Quran says all of you did, because all of you were satisfied with that one person killing. Because if you're satisfied with an action, is as if you have done that action. One person killed, but the entire tribe, Quran says, killed. فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِذَنْبِهِمْ فَسَوَّاهَا, and everyone was annihilated. One person killed, but everyone else was silent. Everyone else says, we don't care, or we agreed. And nobody stood up to say, don't do that. That camel is not a normal camel. That camel is a sign of Allah. Don't do that. So therefore, all of them became annihilated. We have to fear Allah more, because we do not want to be like the group that Prophet Saleh was trying to educate and trying to have them learn and preach to. That if we are quiet in such important times, that we will not have truly learned from Sayyidah Fatema alayhi salam and Imams who told us to always be an aun to the madloom, to always be a helper and a sister to the oppressed, and be a khasm, an opponent to the zalim, the oppressor. Inshallah, we can learn from Sayyidah Fatema and not only cry for her, but learn from her mission, learn from her message, how she connected Rasalat of the Nabi to Wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, and she gave and sacrificed her life for this. Please recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. If we can dim the lights, please think of all your marhumeen, especially dear marhum Muhammad Azmoon, our friend, who tonight is his year. And for all of those who have passed away this year, and all of our parents, whoever parents are alive, Allah protect them. Whoever they have passed away, may Allah have rahmah and mercy upon them. Allah have rahmah and mercy to the founders of this masjid, Sayyid Musavi, others who would have Fatimiyya in their homes during this time period. May Allah, inshallah, give them of the blessings of this majlis, inshallah. There's no day like Ashura, no day like the day of Hussein. La yawm ka yawmik ya Aba Abdullah. No day is like the day of Imam Hussein. But what did they do to our mother, Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam, that the Imams mentioned that this musibat is bitter, is more bitter. Because this is the musibat of an 18-year-old, one who is very young. This is the musibat of the only progeny of Rasulullah at the time, the only daughter of Rasulullah. This is the musibat of a pregnant lady. You walk in society yourselves, you see someone is holding a baby, someone is holding a child. You stop your car, you're very careful. That's a child, that's a baby. But what about the unborn son, Muhsin? How many millions of Sadat do we have today that are Hassani and Husseini that are leading the world today? How many Sadat what we have from Muhsin? They came and barged the door. They came towards the door. They came first and threatened it. Many times they came towards the house of Imam Ali and Lady Fatima alayhi salam. The same house that the verse of purification was mentioned over. Ayat al-Tathir. The same house that is mentioned that this is the house whose Allah's name is exalted. And it is one of the best homes, like the homes of the prophets in tradition, or min afdaliha, for example, the best of these homes. This is the home that they came to attack. There are men, violent men, they came to this house. Lady Fatima comes in front. Some say, why did she come? Allama Amini says, maybe that they would have haya, maybe they would have shame. Maybe they say, this is the daughter of Rasulullah. Maybe they would stop, but they did not cause them to stop. They set the house on fire. They were pushing, some say they were pushing the doors to break it open. And a pregnant lady, what does she usually do? She protects her stomach. Some say she was holding the, apologize saying this, she was holding the door maybe with her head so that her stomach is not impacted. She's holding it with her head. And finally they open and break through the door. Some say she hid behind the door and wall because of her modesty and haya. At that time, some say that the nail comes and pierces her pure chest, the chest that held the secrets of Allah. In tradition, she mentions herself, وَالرَّكَلَ الْبَابِ بِرِجْلِهِ. He came, he kicked the door with his foot. فَرَدَّهُ عَلَيَّ. And he threw the door upon me. I ask you, how does a mob of 10, 20, 30, 40 men enter this house, enter this door? When this door is over, say the Fatima, they run over her possibly. They ran over her. وَأَنَا حَامِلٌ. And I was pregnant. فَسَقَطْتُ لِوَجْهِي وَالنَّارُ تُسْعَرُ. And the fire was blazing and I fell with my face. Just how her son Hussein ibn Ali would be falling later on off his horse. Bismillah wa billah wa ala millati Rasulullah. Just how Hadrat Abbas later on in Karbala would be falling. Bismillah wa billah wa ala millati Rasulullah. Just how at that time Amir al-Mu'mineen, when hit by Ibn Muljam, he fell saying Bismillah wa billah wa ala millati Rasulullah. This was how they did dhulm and oppression to Ahlul Bayt. May Allah cause curse upon the killers of Sayyidah Fatima and Ahlul Bayt. Inshallah, inna lillah, inna ilayhi rajoon. Ya Allah, we ask you, it is Fatimiyya, our ulama. Some of them wait for this time period to make dua for their nation. Ya Allah, we ask to remove injustice, to remove oppression throughout the entire world, especially in Lebanon and Palestine, inshallah. Allah, protect all the Muslim lands, inshallah, from any type of bala and calamity. Allah, answer the hawa'ij, the du'as of everyone who has a hajat today. Give shafa to all of those who are asking for cure. All of those people that are looking for marriage, give them the best of marriages. Those who have loans, remove their debt, inshallah, from them. Give them good sustenance. Ya Allah, we ask you, the most important dua, make us aghabat bil khair, inshallah. Give us a good end to our lives and expedite the return of the Imam of the age so that the world can be full of idalat and tawheed. Inshallah, with his salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلى الله عليك يا مولانا يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت رسول الله يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا يا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة برای پدر مادرمون یا وجیهتا عادت به روزه کرده عادت به روزه کرده ایم روزه خوان کجاست صاحب عزای فاطمه آن بینشان کجاست امام زمان قربانش که روز و شب چشم خستت مولا فدای مادر پهلو شکستت یا وجیهن یا وجیهتن عند الله اشفعی لنا همه با هم بگیم یا وجیهتن یار من رفت ولی شکوه اخیار نکرد با من سوخته دل درد دل ابراز نکرد تا نفس داشت مرا از دل و جان یاری کرد زبون حال مولامون علی تا نفس داشت مرا از دل و جان یاری کرد گرچه کس یاری او جز من نبی یار نکرد. زهرا جان، زهرا جان، کمر یاری من بست، کمر یاری من بست که پهلو شکست. بی جهت همسر من تکیه به دیوار نکرد. یا زهرا، یا زهرا بیبی جان، امشب همه جمع شدیم از راه دور و نزدیک، اومدیم تو این مجلس. اول اومدیم به آقامون امام زمان سرسلامتی بدیم. آقا جان، آقا جان، قربون شال ازاد برم مولای من. چه خبر امشب خانه علی؟ بچه ها دور بستر مادر حلقه زدن، هر کی دست یکی دست مادر گرفته، یکی پای مادر، یکی به صورت مادر نگاه میکنه. زهرا هرچه چشماشو باز میکنه، میخواد به بچه‌هاش دلداری بده. امام حسن میفرماید بابام اومد کنار بدن مادرم زهرا، صدای زد عزیز دل علی، زهرا جان علی. امام حسن میگه مادرم چشماشو باز کرد، همین که صورت بابام رو دید، دستای بابام رو محکم به دست گرفت. چه کردن این زن و شوهر در اون لحظه باهم؟ چه گفتن در اون لحظه این زن و شوهر خدایی باهم؟ امام حسن میفرماید یک بار دیدم بغض بابام علی ترکید کنار بالین مادرم. زهرا جان، بلندشین به احترام حضرت زهرا یه چند لحظه روی پاهامون. همین زهرا جان، زهرا بگینه بیاین جلو. زهرا کبوتر من مپر زلانه، کبوتر من مپر زلانه، مبر سفارا ز آشیانه، مبر سفارا. کبوتر من، کبوتر من مپر زلانه، مبر سفارا ز آشیانه. کبوتر مبر صفا را آیز جوجه کند چرا بریدی جوجه کند چرا بریدی روی زدانه چرا شبانه روی زخانه چرا شبانه کبوتر من مپر زلانه مبر صفا را ز آشیانه کبوتر من کبوتر من مبر صفا را آی مزل شرارم مبر شکیبم تمام دردم توی طبیبم میان دشمن ببین غریبم مکن کناره از این میانه کبوتر من مپر زلانه مبر صفا را ز کبوتر من مبر صفا را آی آی ز من تو خود را جدا نکردی به چنگ دشمن رها نکردی نشان گرفتی به سینه اما نشان ندادی به من نشانه کتاب عشقم ورق ورق شد جانم کتاب عشقم ورق ورق شد غروب و گونه رخ بر شفق شد چه شد که دست تو بی رمق شد چه شد که دست تو بی رمق شد که موی زینب نکرد شانه که موی زینب نکرد شانه کبوتر من مپر زلانه مبر صفا را کبوتر من مبر صفا را آی کسی چه داند چه کرده دشمن کسی چه داند چه کرده دشمن چه گشته با تو چه کرده با من تو را کشانده میان کوچه مرا نشانده به کنج خانه تو را کشانده میان کوچه مرا نشانده به کنج خانه کبوتر من همسرم راز نهان خویش و با شوهر بگو جانم همسرم راز نهان خویش و با شوهر بگو جان من از آنچه آمد بر سرت یک سر بگو یا زهرا آه یا زهرا دردای خویش و با خود مبر و در خاک گور یا ز سر سینه یا از زخم معده درها بگو دردهای خویش را با خود مبر در خاک گور یا ز سر سینه یا از زخم میخ در بگو از چه دائم می روی از هوش و بازایی به از چه دائم می روی از هوش و بازایی به از چه می پیچی به خود پیوسته در بستر بگو یا زهرا یا زهرا آی قطره قطره آب گشتی و مرا آتش زدی قطره قطره آب گشتی و مرا آتش زدی با من از کاهیدن نازنین پیکر بگو محسنت بین در و دیوار با قاتل چه گوی محسنت بین در و دیوار با قاتل چه گوی لاله خونین من از غنچه پر پر بگو یا زهرا همه یا زهرا ماجرای گوش و باره بر کف دست چه بود ماجرای گوش و باره بر کف دستت چه بود راز از این قصه سربسته تو با حیدر بگو یا زهرا
دامن فردوس و دود چگونه باور کنم، دامن فردوس و دود چگونه باور کنم، آتش و بیت ودود چگونه باور کنم، آتش و بیت ودود چگونه باور، حوری وادی به زشت وای از این سرنوشت، حوری وادی به زشت وای از این سرنوشت، جنت و یاس کبود چگونه باور کنم، جنت و یاس کبود چگونه باور، حکم خدا و رسول حرمت و قدر بتول گشت فراموش زود چگونه باور کنم، گشت فراموش زود چگونه باور، سوی بهشت حجاز بولهب آورده باز، بار حطب جای عود چگونه باور کنم، بار حطب جای عود چگونه باور کنم، پیش روی باغبان آمده دست خزان، پیش روی باغبان آمده دست خزان، بر ورق گل فرود چگونه باور کنم، بر ورق گل فرود چگونه باور، دری که روح الامین بر آن گذارد جبین، خصم به آتش گشود چگونه باور کنم، خصم به آتش گشود چگونه باور، خوردن نان و نمک آتش و قصب فدک، اجر رسالت نبود چگونه باور کنم، اجر رسالت نبود چگونه باور کنم، حق علی را همه با زدن فاطمه، حق علی را همه با زدن فاطمه، خصم تلافی نمود چگونه باور کنم، خصم تلافی نمود چگونه باور، شیعه از اعماق دل ناله بزن متصل، شیعه از اعماق دل ناله بزن متصل، ظلم گذشت از حدود چگونه باور کنم، ظلم گذشت از حدود چگونه کنم، بر مشامم میرسد، بر مشامم میرسد هر لحظه بوی کربلام، بر دلم ترسم بماند آرزوی کربلام، بر دلم ترسم بماند آرزوی کربلام، تشنه آب فرات، تشنه آب فرات، تشنه آب فراتم، ای اجل مهلت بدم تا بگیرم در بغل قبر شهید کربلا، تا بگیرم در بغل قبر شهید کربلا، یا حسین یا حسین.
یا زهرا یا زهرا یا زهرا یا زهرا
يا زهراء يا زهراء يا زهراء لأجل جفنيك لن أمل أحزاني لك الفدا روحي والضلوع قرباني لك الفدا روحي والضلوع قرباني ما عشت من عمري لن أكف عن نوحي لعلني أطفي جمر ذلك الجرح لعلني أطفي جمر ذلك الجرح كفي لأجلك من لطم صدري ما اكتفى لعل لطمتي تكون للضلع الشفاء لن أبرح البكاء على الضلع الكثير أرجوك فاقبلي المواسي الصغير يا سيدتي يا سيدتي يا أمه يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة لمتنك المحني ذبت وانحنى متني فكل أيامي فاطمية الحزن فكل أيامي فاطمية الحزن نذرت أنفاسي نذر صادق موقن لعلها تحيي نبض خافق المحسن لعلها تحيي نبض خافق المحسن إليكما على إليكما على صوت المتيم الجزوع أواما يفي البكاء ما صرختي وما الدموع الحزن داري والعزاء فاطمي فليفتدي ألامكم تألمي يا سيدتي يا سيدتي يا أمه يا زهرة يا زهرة يا زهرة يا أمه يا زهرة يا زهرة لك احتوى صدري خافقا فدائيا لك ارتدت روحي ثوبها الجهادية لك ارتدت روحي ثوبها الجهادية عهدت أن أمضي نحوكم وأن أسعى أبكي على المنبر خلف ساتر أنعى أبكي على المنبر خلف ساتر أنعى بسيل مدمعي حزنا عليك في العزاء أواسي دمعة تجري صباحا ومساء مهما بكيت فالدموع ذي تزيد لعلني بدمعتي أغدو شهيد يا سيدتي يا سيدتي يا أمّا يا
زهرا يا زهرا يا زهرا صلى الله عليك یا بفرمایید بشینید اجر همتون با حضرت زهرا یا زهرا یا زهرا آقا جان رسول الله ما شرمنده شماییم و اینا چه کردن با نازدانه رسول خدا سیلی زدن پهلو شکستن اجر نبوت پیغمبر اینا نبود پیغمبر خیلی سفارش حضرت زهرا کرد آقا جان شرمنده ایم ما آقا جان شرمنده ایم ما آقا جان وقتی رفتی زهرا تو زدن بعد زهرا زدن دختر زدن مد شد رست شد تو کربلا دیگر سیلی نمی زدن تو کربلا با تازیان نمی زدن تو کربلا و تازیان نمی زدن زهرا جان یه ختم عمن یجیب برداریم برای همه مریضا اونایی که دکترها جوابشون کردن برای اونایی که به ما التماس دعا گفتن بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم امن یجیب مضطر اذا دعا امن یجیب مضطر اذا دعا حاج آقا امن یجیب المضطر اذا دعا و یکشف السوء امن
مضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء يا مجيب المضطر أجب المضطرين يا الله 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 حف مرتبه يا أرحم الراحمين 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 یا ارحم الراحمین. اکنون است که خدا می فرماید عبدی لبیک سل تعطه، بنده من حاجت تو چیست؟ 10 مرتبه یا الله، 7 مرتبه یا ارحم الراحمین و اما یجیب را خواندید. انشاءالله حوائج شما برآورده به خیر خواهد شد. بخواهید یا الله. خدایا پروردگارا مقدمات و وسائل ظهور آقا امام زمان فراهم بگردان، ما را از اعوان و یارانشان قرار بده، آنی و کمتر از آنی ما را به خودمان وامگذار. در دنیا زیارت اهل بیت و در آخرت شفاعت، مجاورتشان، همسایگیشان در بهشت، قسمت و روزی ما بفرما. خدایا پروردگارا عاقبت و سرانجام ما ختم به خیر بفرما. بیماران ملتمسین دعا، مریضان منظور ملتمسین دعا، به ویژه بیماران سرطانی گوشه بیمارستان ها، الساء به پهلوی شکسته بی فاطمه زهرا، به اضطرار آقا امیر مؤمنان الساء لباس عافیت بر تنشان بپوشان. خدایا حوائج نیازهای مشروعه ما در دنیا و آخرت برآورده به خیر بفرما. این فاطمیه آخرین فاطمیه عمر ما قرار مده. خدایا پروردگارا جوانان عزیزان نور دیدگان فرزندان ما، مسلمین و مسلمات، مؤمنین و مؤمنات در هر جای دنیا، در هر نقطه، در هر کشور و مملکت و سرزمینی که قرار دارند، در فلسطین، لبنان، افغانستان، پاکستان، کشمیر، یمن، خدایا از همه بلاها، از همه شرها، از همه آفتها و جنگها در امان و ایمن قرار بده. خدایا پروردگارا کسانی که به بشریت، انسانیت ضرر و زیان میرسانند، خدایا خار و ذلیل و رسوا بگردان. و الی ارواح المؤمنین والمؤمنات امواتی و امواتکم، ولا سیما گذشتگان از جمع حاضر، بانیان مجلس و مسجد، از این جمع علی الخصوص بانی مسجد مرحوم آقای آصد محمود موسوی و علی الخصوص جوانی که ذکر کردن آقای آزمون، نهدی لهم جمیعا ثواب الفاتحه مع الصلوات.